Hi, it's Ra, Rishi Kavi Raghudas from Star Presence Astrology, here to give the astrological forecast for Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Well, you remember all those days recently where there was almost no astrology, where nothing was happening because all the planets have been bunched up in late degrees of the different signs, and so there have been big stretches when there was not a lunar aspect. Nothing was really connecting. Well, today it's all connecting. This is where we get it all. Today it's like you're on a mountain bike going up mountains and down valleys and sweeping around curves. There's all kinds of energy going on today, and generally it's pretty positive, but there are a lot of curves to it. So let's begin. The sun today is at 25, moving to 26 degrees of dynamic and impetuous fire sign Aries. What else would there be, right? We're in the red for one of the last times for Aries here. And the moon today is moving through the latter degrees of deep dark water sign Scorpio, the black jacket for Scorpio, one of the last times you'll see this until the fall, when the black and the red come together again in the month of Scorpio. In any case, here's the moon beginning its journey in a lovely trine, a nice flowing angle to Venus, the planet of love and affection, 24 degrees of Scorpio to Venus at 24 degrees of Pisces. Of course, Venus just turned direct from having been retrograde, so it's been stationing and giving a little bit of added ease to all of this frenetic energy in the last few days. Well, that lovely trine begins us off on a nice note. 9:04 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time is when it's exact. 12:04 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 5:04 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Nice, easeful kind of energy. We need that because the next aspect is the moon at 26 degrees, 25 degrees of Scorpio, in a direct opposition to Uranus, this planet of sudden change and often chaos. Freedom from the known, as I like to say, at 25 degrees of Taurus. That's an anything can happen sort of energy right there. You can get a phone call from somebody in distress. You could get a text message from someone you're interested in romantically. Anything could happen under this kind of aspect. 10:31 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 1:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 6:31 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Then, because of Aries and Scorpio being not in exact alignment, they're in 150 degrees away from each other. We have the moon at 26 degrees of Scorpio in an awkward inconjunct, the 150-degree adapt, adjust, accommodate angle to the sun at 26 degrees of Aries. That's kind of like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. I'll have to try something else. That occurs at 11:36 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 2:36 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 7:36 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. We get a break then with the moon in a harmonious, lovely, flowing trine to Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure. This is work, but it's results that things work out under this kind of energy. Moon 26 degrees of Scorpio to Saturn 26 degrees of Pisces at exactly noon Pacific Daylight Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Then several hours go by, almost 6 hours go by, until the moon makes another lovely trine on its way out of Scorpio to Mars, the planet of energy and often conflict, but it's about to move into Leo, so pretty soon you'll have the transition from water to fire coming up here later this week. Mars, 29 degrees of Cancer, 5:52 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 8:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 1:52 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. That's very nice. That's vigorous. That's like you're going down the straightaway and you just want to pump as fast as you can. Then we get a little bit more easeful energy. The moon still at 29 degrees of Scorpio in a lovely trine to Mercury, the planet of communication, at 29 degrees of Pisces. Later this evening, it moves into the fire sign of Aries. I told you, transition from water to fire this week. 7:24 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 10:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 3:24 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Good time to communicate. The moon goes void, of course, meaning it's not making another aspect for just a few minutes, and then it does move into the more adventurous, as if we needed more adventurous and truth-seeking fire sign of Sagittarius, so the moon moves from water to fire. 7:37 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 10:37 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 3:37 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Then the moon makes another immediate aspect, a lovely trine, a flowing angle to Neptune, which is at 0 degrees of Aries. So that's nice and dreamy and sort of I can relax and dream under this kind of energy. 8:50 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 11:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 4:50 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And then to finish it all off, Mercury, the planet of communication, moves into the fire sign of Aries. So our mood shifts, communication style shifts from our feelings into more action and passion orientation. 11:25 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 2:25 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 7:25 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. If you're exhausted at the end of this day, I don't blame you, but there's a lot of energy going on, and most of it is pretty positive. I'm Rishi Kavi Raghudas from Star Presence Astrology. I'm exhausted just having said this. Now, if you would like to have a personal reading with me, you can book it on my website, starpresence.net. Remember, from the very moment that you're born, you've got star presence. Enjoy this day, no matter what.